Imagine this. You're running on 4 hours of sleep, juggling team crises on Slack, investor emails at midnight, and tonight you missed your daughter's first school play. Again. You're building an empire millions dream of, but inside, you're drowning. What if the only thing between you and real freedom, real happiness, was your own tight grip on control? Welcome to the story of Ethan Keller. San Francisco, winter, dense with rain. The city skyline flickers like the inside of a data center, alive with ambition, stress, and the relentless drive to stay ahead. Ethan Keller, 41, founder of a billion-dollar tech startup, leans back in his ergonomic chair long after midnight. Screens everywhere. Code dashboards, investor decks, HR crisis emails. Ethan's face glows blue and tired, the face of every leader who knows. If I don't keep every ball in the air, it all falls. He pushes aside a dry sandwich, opening the next Zoom. His phone buzzes. Dad, can you help with my math? He types, busy now. Later, champ. Ethan wasn't always this way. Childhood, Midwest, single mother, always hustling. He learned, success comes when you take nothing for granted and no risk. Control everything. It worked. First in his family to go Ivy League, built a company from dorm room to IPO. But with every success came new dependencies on his decisions, on his approval. By the time he landed his first major funding round, Ethan was king, but a king with no time for his own castle. Team meetings, Ethan leads everyone. Product design, only he can approve. Hiring, firing, even the brand's Instagram captions. His stamp, his review. To the outside world, visionary. To his team, well, that's complex. Sophie, COO. He's brilliant, but impossible. Nobody wants to make a decision without his okay. The staff works late because Ethan's Slack pings never stop. Turnover's accelerating. HR whispers, people are burning out under Ethan's gaze. At home, his wife, Zoe. He's here physically, but his mind is downtown, always. His son, Max, age 9, quietly drifts away. One Friday, Ethan is prepping for a product launch when he sees Zoe's call. He lets it ring out. Being available is a liability, the voice in his head snipes. That night, coming home late with a half-hearted apology, Ethan finds Max already asleep, clutching a crayon drawing. It's a stick figure family. Dad is a ghost, gray and faded, out of the frame. Below, Max's lopsided handwriting. Dad, you don't have to be my hero. I just need you here. For the first time in years, Ethan sits on his son's bed and cries. And Zoe, leaning in the door, simply asks, "Are you happy?" Ethan can't answer. Sunday, Ethan takes Max to breakfast. No phones allowed. Max is surprised, thrilled. That afternoon, Ethan tells his exec team, "We're trying something new. Decisions, approvals, roadblocks. If you see something broken, fix it. Don't wait for me. I trust you." Pin drop silence. Several look scared, some skeptical. But Ethan means it. That week is messy. Product launch, bugs in the app, a feature rolls out unfinished. Ethan's instinct screams, "Control! Rescue it! Take over!" But he resists. He apologizes to users, jokes about the first pancake effect publicly. And the team? Scrambling, learning, owning their mistakes. Within a month, something radical changes. Late night Slack drops. The office air feels lighter. Sophie steps up, finding bugs and solutions before Ethan even knows about them. A junior coder, Jamal, launches a new feature and gets user love. HR notices a bounce in morale. Ping pong tournaments at 7 p.m. replace a row of caffeine-stressed zombies. At home, Ethan's world shifts. Max asks him to help with a science project, making a volcano. It flops. Instead of correcting, Ethan laughs with him, letting the mess be the joy. Zoe says, "I haven't seen you this relaxed since our honeymoon." For the first time, Ethan sleeps through the night, guilt-free. Not everything goes smoothly. Investors call, worried about leadership vacuum. A major client gets upset about a delayed integration. Ethan feels the old panic rising, that urge to jump in, micromanage, apologize for everyone. But something stops him. He calls the client himself, confesses, "We're building a new culture here. It's messy, but it's worth it." The client, surprisingly, decides to stay. "People with courage to admit mistakes are rare," she says. 3 months in, the company breaks sales records, with Ethan half as hands-on as before. Staff meetings buzz with voices, not silence. Sophie, Jamal, and even the newest interns bring ideas that Ethan would have smothered in his old, just let me of days. His calendar, once an unbroken wall, now has spaces. Soccer games, family dinners, silent hours in Golden Gate Park. In one such quiet moment, Max tells Ethan, "You're way cooler than the other dads. You actually laugh now." Ethan S. story gets covered in a business magazine. The CEO who let go and won. But what matters most isn't T the money or the fame. It's the way Max runs into his arms after school, or how Zoe's hand finds his under the table. Ethan realizes, letting go of control did not make him weaker. It made him human, happier, more present, and a better leader for everyone who actually mattered. He leaves a post-it on his office monitor. Trust creates freedom for everyone, including you. There's a quiet truth few parents admit. Sometimes all our protection and planning for our children becomes their prison, not their freedom. In the charming suburbs of North London, Sarah Bennett prided herself on being the reliable mom. She had color-coded calendars, healthy snack boxes, after-school tutors, and playdates scheduled out months in advance. It wasn't just love fueling Sarah. There was a voice inside, always whispering, "The world is dangerous. Get ahead or fall behind." Her daughter, Lily, was bright, creative, and surprisingly perceptive for a third grader. But as Sarah scheduled every moment, ballet, chess, piano, Mandarin, she noticed Lily's spark begin to dim. The more Sarah tried to help, the more Lily became hesitant, anxious about decisions, shrinking into herself at birthday parties, melting down when things didn't go as planned. At first, Sarah blamed herself for not trying even harder. But then, at a dreaded parent-teacher evening, Lily's beloved Miss Cooper sat across from Sarah and spoke softly. "Lily's so gifted, but lately it's as if she's afraid to make a single mistake. She constantly looks for your nod, your approval. I think deep down, she needs space to believe in herself." That night, after putting Lily to bed, Sarah lingered in the hallway, guilt twisting in her stomach. She replayed each, "Don't do it that way," each, "Let me fix it," every overcorrected art project, each battle over the right snack or perfect shoes, or best friend. She noticed something for the first time. Lily, on her own, daydreamed about fairy tales, invented puppet voices, and made up new rules for familiar games. But as soon as Sarah stepped in, the light in Lily's eyes flickered away. After hours staring at her perfect plan for the coming week, Sarah made a radical decision. Tomorrow, there would be no plan. Breakfast was a mess, pancakes and spilled OJ. Sarah bit her tongue when Lily wore mismatched socks. When snack time came, Sarah offered, "What would you like to pack today?" Lily looked shocked, then grinned as she picked strawberries and cheese sticks, no carrots or celery in sight. At first, the lack of structure was chaos. Homework was done late. Lily forgot her art supplies more than once. She lost a shoe and cried at a playdate after a tiff with a friend. Sarah wanted to jump in, fix things, rescue her daughter from discomfort. Instead, she asked, "What do you think is the best way to solve it?" Sometimes Lily fumbled. Sometimes she surprised her mother. One day, Lily wrote a letter apologizing to her friend without Sarah writing a word for her. Another day, with Sarah watching from the kitchen, Lily experimented with painting, mixing watercolors for the first time, laughing when the page turned to mud. She kept at it, not because someone said she was doing it the right way, but because she wanted to see what would happen next. Slowly, Sarah recognized her greatest gift wasn't perfect guidance or careful protection, but trust. By releasing Lily to make mistakes, fall, wobble, and rise, she gave her a mirror in which Lily could see not just her mother's confidence, but her own. The turning point came one evening. Lily had been asked to speak in front of her class about her favorite animal. In the past, Sarah would have sat with her for hours, rehearsing answers and prepping index cards. This time, Sarah smiled and offered, "If you want help, I'm here. But I know you'll do great in your own way too." The next day, Lily came home waving a star speaker sticker. She'd told a wild, unscripted story about penguins and pirates, improvising half of it on the spot. "Mom, my knees shook, and I almost forgot a word, but everyone laughed. Even Adam, and he never laughs." Sarah scooped her up, tears pricking her eyes for a different reason than before. The following weeks, the color returned to Lily's cheeks. She tried out for the school play, made a new friend on her own, and built a pillow fort, so big even the cat got lost. Sarah watched, at first fearful, but then filled with joy, her child blooming, not because she never failed, but because she knew she was allowed to. One rainy afternoon, Lily curled up next to her and whispered, "Thanks, Mom. I feel like I'm me now, not just someone in your planner. And I really like being me." Outside, storm clouds drifted, hinting at a sunburst. In Sarah's mother's heart, something fundamental shifted. Letting go of control didn't mean letting go of love. In truth, sometimes trust is the purest, most liberating love we can offer. Sarah caught her daughter laughing with chocolate all over her fingers, perfectly imperfect. And for the first time in her life, the so-called reliable mom felt truly, deeply free. And so the story of control and freedom drifted from boardrooms in America to the quiet kitchens of London, where a little girl and her mother discovered the most brilliant possibility of all. You don't need to orchestrate every note to make real music. Sometimes letting go of the plan allows a song you never imagined to bloom. Sometimes the greatest courage isn't to keep climbing, but to dare step off the ladder. Toronto's city centre at sunrise is a symphony of ambition. The gleaming CN Tower, the rush of commuters, coffee in hand, chasing the next meeting, the next win, the next big thing. Jason Lee, 29, was a product of that current, a Stanford grad, living in a skyline apartment, running his own startup, idolized by LinkedIn connections, envied by college friends, and used to being the guy everyone called lucky. Yet inside, Jason was brittle. Success, he discovered, was a treadmill. Every new hire, every funding round, every client won just created more pressure not to lose. More eyes to impress, more numbers to hit, less space to breathe. His parents cheered his rise. Girls he'd briefly dated DM'd for startup tips. At bars, strangers wanted his hack for going viral. But Jason, once the life of every party, quietly shrank. Deep into the night, he scrolled endless feeds of so-called winners. Tech founders younger than him, influencers posting lakeside vacations with passive income unlocked. He trained himself to smile, to manifest, to keep hustling. What all the posts never showed: the panic attacks, the anxiety medication hidden in his second drawer, the morning shakes he blamed on too much caffeine. The breaking point was small, an awkward dinner with investors where Jason's hands wouldn't stop trembling. When the Alpha VC Franklin barked, "You good, kid? You look off," Jason snapped. That night, Jason walked the city in the January cold for hours. At the lakeshore, watching ice break, a seal's fat head bobbing for air, he realized he hadn't sat still, hadn't breathed in years. Next morning, instead of jumping back into the storm, Jason drafted an email to his co-founders. "I want out. I'm exhausted. I need a reset, and I can't find it in code or cash." Everyone thought he was insane. One partner said, "Nobody leaves at the top. Fix your attitude, see a coach." His family panicked. "Quit? But you're almost there. You'll lose everything you built." Jason left anyway. He emptied his condo, boxed up his trophies, and went silent for a month. No Instagram, no Slack, no email. He found work at a tiny mountain lodge in British Columbia, washing dishes by day, reading Murakami by night, hiking with strangers, and befriending a retired oil rig cook and a ballet dancer on a gap-year sabbatical. He discovered something almost spiritual in boredom, a luxury few modern strivers ever taste. He hiked. He noticed the colors of sunrise. He caught himself actually laughing. Not for anyone else, not for a LinkedIn post, just for the joy of it. At a campfire one night, he shared honestly for the first time. I thought if I stopped chasing, I'd disappear. Instead, it's like I'm finally here in my own life. No one interrupted. No one reached for their phone to post it. They just listened. Jason started to paint with watercolors, badly, then better. He met a local teacher who ran an after-school art program. On a whim, Jason offered to help. With kids, there was no winner-loser. They just wanted to see what happened when you mixed blue and yellow. How messy you could get. How much not following the rules could create the most unexpected, most beautiful results. Months passed. Jason returned to Toronto, but nothing inside him was the same. He rented a smaller flat, no view. He started a tiny creative agency, working with indie artists and nonprofits helping teens find their way. His old friends asked, "Are you coming back to tech? The world's moved fast." Jason said, "I've found more meaning in small things than I ever did being important." His parents finally visited. His father, softer, admiring the mismatched paintings on Jason's walls. "You're different, son, but you seem happier." At a downtown cafe, Jason finally opened his social media again. He still saw the flexes, the hustle, the show. But now, scrolling past, he caught himself smiling. He remembered the mountain lodge, the quiet, the improv paintings, the truth that the world's idea of making it had almost broken him until he let it go. In his inbox, an old campfire friend wrote, "You taught me it's okay not to chase, to just be." Jason typed back, "Me too. It's the one race I'm glad I lost." Too many live life climbing ladders others built, mistaking exhaustion for achievement and applause for fulfillment. But sometimes you step away and let go of who you're supposed to be. And only then do you meet the self who was waiting, patiently, for space to just be. Beyond the towers and ambitions of Toronto, Jason learned freedom wasn't making it to the top. It was having the guts to step off and finally breathe. Sometimes, the hardest cage to escape is the one built with years of silence. Across the world, in an old suburb near Sydney's harbour, lived two sisters whose lives had twisted into stubborn parallel tracks, Charlotte and Olivia Parker. Tall gum trees cast long morning shadows over both front lawns, but neither had set foot across the others in nearly 30 years. This silent feud was legendary in their family. It began as a spark, an argument over their mother's will, a sentence misheard, old childhood insecurities flaring up at the worst possible moment. Time passed and the spark became habit. Holidays were alternated, weddings attended warily, mutual friends walked diplomatic tightropes. Children grew up not knowing their cousins, trading shy glances over BBQ fences. Charlotte, ever the organized one, buried herself in work, raising 2 children alone after her own divorce. Olivia, the artist, traveled, returned, taught at the local school, then kept mostly to herself. Both told themselves, "I'm the one who was wronged. When she apologizes, I'll forgive." But life, indifferent to pride, kept moving. Both women lost their parents, then a beloved aunt. The empty pews at each funeral were reminders of all that was lost. One spring, Olivia's granddaughter Melissa asked a pointed question at a family gathering. "Is it true Aunt Charlotte bites? Why don't we ever see her?" Everyone laughed, but Olivia froze. The question lingered, bittersweet. That evening, Olivia stood on her front porch, watching Charlotte weeding roses next door. Their eyes met, and for a split second, something softer passed. A trace of the girls who'd once snuck out to climb the obsidian cliffs, share secrets, leap across tide pools. Both looked away. A few weeks later, fate, or a neighbor's clumsy parking job, forced a conversation. Olivia's car, sideswiped, needed a jump. Charlotte's driveway had the best access. Charlotte, after a moment's hesitation, brought over the jumper cables. They exchanged awkward small talk, then silence. As they waited for the engine to turn, Olivia spoke quietly. "Mom always said you had the patience of a saint. I'm sorry it took this long to ask for help." Charlotte blinked, a tremor in her hand. "I missed you, you know, but I never knew how to fix it. I thought being strong meant holding on." A breeze brought childhood smells: cut grass, sunscreen, eucalyptus. Melissa peered out, hopeful, her world shifting in the smallness of adults' apologies. That afternoon, for the first time in years, Charlotte and Olivia sat on the old backstep sipping tea. The first stories that spilled were practical, about cars and neighbors and gardens, but under the surface, the old hurt was softening. Over months, the backsteps became their sanctuary. They talked about everything that had happened, and all that hadn't. Laughter returned, tentative then real. A recipe shared, a trip remembered, jokes about their mother's hopeless cooking. The grandchildren, once strangers, discovered playmates next door. Summer afternoons became epic water fights, extravagant lemonade stands, backyard campouts under the Southern Cross. No public drama, no Facebook status, no sweeping declarations. Just two sisters learning to trust, to forgive, in the small, silent ways that matter. One Christmas, Charlotte's living room was full again. Olivia's art hung on the wall. Their daughters slept on couches, the kids in sleeping bags on the floor, everyone a little giddy from reunion. Later that night, as dishes clinked and the house buzzed with warmth, Olivia squeezed Charlotte's hand. "I wasted too many years thinking forgiveness was giving something up. But really, all it does is set you free." Charlotte nodded, finally allowing the tears she'd held in since the funeral, since the fight, since the day she'd let her sister become a stranger. Outside, the harbor lights shimmered. Two lives, once parallel, now entwined again. Not because of some grand gesture, but because someone finally surrendered the need to be right. Sometimes the chains we wear are links of old words and old wounds. When you let go, decades can collapse into moments, and love, long asleep, can awaken and rush in as if it never left. Not all chains are forged in conflict. Some are ghostly, self-made, tightening with every comparison and secret self-doubt. Across the Atlantic, in the rain-silvered city of Manchester, England, lived Amelia Watson, an artist in all but name. For years, she sketched in the quiet, window corners, cafe napkins, dreams painted across old receipts and half-filled journals, all hidden in drawers no one would ever see. To the world, Amelia was quiet but sensible, clocking in daily as an admin assistant at an insurance firm, admired for always remembering birthdays, unremarkable enough to fade politely into the background at office drinks. But to herself, she was a cacophony of dreams, 1,000 stories, all trapped behind the thin wall of perfectionism. In childhood, she'd been celebrated. "Amelia, you're so talented." That praise, once a fuel, soon became a burden. Every new sketch had to surpass the last, every color just so. She joined online forums, watched as friends uploaded portfolios, gained followers, even scored book deals and gallery walls. Amelia posted nothing. Every time she hovered over share, the questions crept in. Is it good enough? Am I just copying someone? If I show myself, if I truly fail, then what? She compared, revised, deleted. She told herself she was just waiting for more practice, more confidence, more something. Her world narrowed. Scroll, envy, hesitation, delete. Each new like on someone else's post twisted. They did it first, did it better, were simply meant for the spotlight. Her mother framed one watercolor, a memory of their childhood cat, Marbles. "You must show more people, darling." Amelia smiled, but quietly packed away most of her art, a safety net that became a prison. One stormy night, restless and unable to sleep, Amelia stumbled across a digital art group. Not influencers, just everyday people sharing doodles and half-finished dreams. There, a post caught her eye. "Show your ugliest art. Bravery challenge." Heart pounding, she posted 3 splotchy sketches and wrote honestly, "Sometimes I feel like everything I make is a mess, but I'm trying." A reply pinged within minutes. Messy is where the magic starts. Amelia, your mistakes are just places you took a risk. Dozens more comments followed. Encouragement, empathy, stories of missed chances and true breakthroughs. A stranger DM'd, "Your cat looks exactly like mine, wild eyes and all. I love this." The feedback was raw, sometimes unfiltered, but never cruel. It didn't matter that not everyone admired her style. It mattered that she dared to be seen. Inspired, Amelia challenged herself. 1 week, 1 public post a day. No editing, no deleting. She started with cartoons, silly animals on sticky notes, then bolder strokes, stories about office life, awkward first dates, the intimately lonely hours in train stations. Friends and acquaintances emerged from the digital ether. "You capture what Mondays feel like." "Didn't know you could draw. Please do my dog next." A local children's book writer, hunting for an illustrator, stumbled onto her page. "I want your imperfections. Your colors spill right into the heart." For the first time, Amelia said yes without the voice of doubt leading her away. She worked on rough drafts, chased deadlines, wept sometimes from frustration, but this time she did not walk away. Her art, imperfect but alive, landed in print and in homes and on library shelves. Her mother's eyes welled with pride. Most unexpectedly, Amelia was invited to speak at an open mic night, sharing the art we hide. On stage, hands shaking, she told a crowd the truth she'd hidden for years. "I spent so long trying to create what I thought you wanted, I forgot the joy that made me pick up a pencil in the first place." Here's to messes, to experiments, to outgrowing our old fears. The crowd's applause was less important than the young girl afterward, who asked, "How do I draw even though everyone in my class is better?" Amelia laughed, understanding at last. "Because your art will be yours. Because no one else can see like you do." She kept sketching, kept sharing. Not every post went viral, not every page went into a book, but each new risk, every failed piece made the next braver, and the loneliness faded. Letting go sometimes means accepting what's unfinished, what's not perfect, learning to love not just the result, but the messy human process itself. And so, in the bright, rain-speckled city, Amelia painted, not for the world's applause, but for the gorgeous, ordinary freedom of being real. There's a wisdom children carry that adults too often forget. You can only hold so much before your hands are too full to play, to learn, to truly live. At a busy public school in Boston, Massachusetts, Ms. Riley started the semester determined. This year, her classroom would hum with focus, order, excellence. She built colorful charts and award systems, set up neat rows of desks, delivered inspiring speeches. Her students, all shades of energy and mood, responded. For a while. In the second row sat Jamal, a wiry 10-year-old whose shoes always seemed to come untied by lunchtime. Jamal didn't fit in the rows. He talked out of turn, fidgeted, sometimes sang little rhymes while working. It drove Miss Riley crazy. Determined to bring him in line, she tried every strategy. Extra points, stricter punishments, meetings with Jamal's single mother. Each time, the result was the same. A brief period of improvement, and then the old habits returned, even stronger. One Monday, after yet another note home, Jamal turned in a homework assignment that wasn't about math at all. He'd drawn a comic, a playful mess of stick figures flying above the city, with Ms. Riley, wide-smiled and windswept, right in the middle. The caption, scrawled in lively crooked print, read, "In Ms. Riley's class, everyone can fly. No rows, no stops, just go." She stared at the paper for a long time, something inside her softening. That afternoon, she sat next to Jamal during silent reading. "Jay, do you like the way our classroom works?" He looked thoughtful. "Ms. R, I learn best when I move. When my legs run, my brain wakes up. Sometimes, when it's quiet, it feels like..." being in a box. Instead of correcting, she listened. They talked. How some kids think better on their feet. How the rules could sometimes squeeze out the fun, the curiosity, the spark. So Miss Riley did something radical. The next day, she replaced the desk rows with tables and corners. She asked each student, "What helps you learn? What should we try?" The room exploded with ideas. Dance breaks, group puzzles, timed challenges. It was no longer her control, it was their classroom. Things got noisy, sometimes wild, far from perfect. But magic crept in. Jamal became a helper, organizing group games. Quiet kids led art sessions. Test scores rose, but more importantly, so did laughter. And the classroom's door stayed open, after hours, to reading, projects, friendships. Months later, on the last day of school, Miss Riley's desk overflowed with homemade thank you cards. In Jamal's, a new drawing, the class whirling above a city skyline, Ms. R and Jamal at the front, wings outstretched, free. "I'll never forget, when you let go, we learned to fly." At the year-end assembly, Ms. Riley addressed hundreds of students, parents, and teachers. She spoke honestly. "I thought my job was to fill your minds. Instead, you taught me. Real leaders trust, listen, and let go, so others can find their own wings. Thank you for teaching me what freedom really means." As people stood to applaud, Jamal flashed a grin. Childhood, that frontier of endless learning and forgiveness, had shown them all. You can only become your biggest self when you accept that growth is messy, unpredictable, and demands a little chaos, a little forgiveness, and a lot of trust. That's the secret every generation must rediscover. The happiest, most extraordinary lives are the ones lived with hands open, not just grabbing success, but releasing fear, hurt, perfection, and control. Because letting go isn't about loss. It's the only way you ever truly gain yourself. So, wherever you are, Kai's Mindset Mastery family, ask yourself, what will you let go of today? Who will you finally trust, or forgive, or set free? What dream might be waiting, just past the point where you release the grip of certainty? Share this video if it stirred anything in you. Subscribe for more stories that change not just how you see the world, but how you live inside it. Because freedom isn't out there. It begins with letting go. See you in the next story.